All right, so we're just going to jump in straight away to week 8, so reporting and dashboards. So I've already gone through the check before the recording started about the exam books. This is under the data analytics management section. So you can see here, describe the options available when creating a customizer report type. They really go on the theory, so don't worry too much about everything that you need to know about reports and dashboards, because in a multiple choice scenario, you really don't have that many options. If you understand each of the types and when they can be used, you don't, it really just comes back to understanding the theory for the exam rather than the full practice. We have described the impact of sharing model on reports. I think Harrison touched on that last week with some of the exceptions. We'll show, so the sharing model being the security underneath about who has access to what data. And then describe the options available when creating and modifying dashboards. So again, having an overview, having a play around with some of the trailhead modules, you'll pick it up very quickly. Having that hands-on experience, I think, is really important, just to understand things, but you don't need to go into the full detail. So I'll just run through the reporting. What the big thing that I wanted to stress at the start is that Salesforce reports and dashboards are largely static. So what it isn't is that it's not a business intelligence tool. It's not a Tableau. It's not a Power BI. If you want to be able to change multiple filters at the same time, the Salesforce reporting and dashboards isn't going to be good enough. If you want to see the same report on a regular basis, it's excellent. So you can create your reports, you can have private reports, you can make them publicly available. You can have lots of options in there, but if you want lots of different viewpoints, different filters, then you need to copy the report and change the filters. So that's just the big positioning of where reporting fits. The big benefit of being on the Salesforce platform is that you've already got the data there, so that you've just got a layer over the top to say, show me the reports of the data that I've already collected. I'm going to jump straight into an org. So I'll just jump into this one here and move that down the bottom. So this is one of my trailhead orgs. I've just gone into the sales app. You can see up on the right, you've got reports and dashboards. So really, from a tabular report, and this is textbook stuff, and Kiva, if you're online, jump in and remind me on some of these. The terminology, sometimes we just take it for granted because we create the reports without remembering exactly what the term is. We know what we're trying to do, but the explanation to somebody isn't sometimes ideal. A tabular report is really just a table of values. Looks a lot like a list view, but just a report with certain filters and things like that. So if I was to go to reports, and please bear with me, I'm going to create a new report. And if I just click the first one of accounts, there's no activity at all. So the first thing that you generally do is what I do is that I want to see some values on the report. my filters here, it's showing my accounts on or after the 19th of October. So the first thing that I do is I change it to all accounts, apply it, refresh, see whether that doesn't make any difference. Create date, instead of a custom date, I will say create date or all time. That date range is the important one. That top one doesn't really matter. So I want to see the created at all time. I will refresh that and all of a sudden I see data. So just the same way as when you go into a list view, it will show you the last view, the recent viewed filter. The same thing happens with reports. It will assume that you want to see only your reports or your records and a recent date. The first thing that I generally do is go in and change those so I've got something to work with. Saying that, if I wanted to have a look at the customer, any of the other filters, I can add a filter by just going in here, or I can add a cross filter by going there. So if I wanted to check that the rating equals hot or warm, apply that, refresh, bingo. So that's the filters part of a report. If I flick over to, I've just clicked that arrow to open that up. Click back to outline. I can actually add additional fields in. So if I wanted to click the number of, have the number of employees, I can drag it over. And again, I'll just refresh. And so I can actually just add fields to the report. And because the data model's already been defined, you know, in the previous sessions, all the information is already sitting there, and it's just about surfacing it up in a report. So if I save and run that, I will call it test report. And that's probably one of the most horrible names ever. I will put it into a folder. You can see that you can just organize that in a certain way. I'll just put it in the public reports because it's a playground and no one else is ever going to go into it. So that's very much what a tabular report is. It's just a table. And, you know, kind of it just that whole thing of, you know, English, it kind of gives it away. So then the next thing being a summary report. So if we want to edit this, and this is where I get a bit clumsy. If we want a summary, we can actually go and we can add a bucket column so that we can, there's, what should have I shown? I should have actually shown the totals and everything as well. So if I close that. Reports, that test report. So where is it? Oh, I don't know why. So I can't see why I didn't get the totals. Anyway, let's just continue on. So if I want to do a summary report, you can add something like, what will I try and look for? So I don't have any. What I'm looking for is a number. Number.
I prefer by industry.
So industry. Where did I see this? So this is where I was mentioning before that I'm pretty unprepared for this one. So if I refresh this one, you can see that we've got a column over here, and this is why I didn't see those down the bottom, because I didn't do the group by. So you can see your record counts, your detailed rows. So if I take that off and refresh, you can see that that subtotal that was in there before, and I'll put that back in just to show you. Subtotal is gone. So instead of seeing the detail, you've gone to the summary report. So you can see the sum of those. There's and it's again, it's a bit tricky to have it set up so that all of the data works well. Your record count only being 1 means that there's no grouping. I will just remove that rating and refresh and see whether that. Okay, so you can see there, energy has 3. I will click that details row, refresh, and you can see that 3 records were there. So we've taken it from a tabular report to a summary report simply by just taking this details row out. The other thing would be that and what I just wanted to highlight was that we've got the group rows, and if we wanted to do the group columns, so we would do something along the lines of, I'm just going to grab a random one and see what it looks like. So I didn't really show that well, but because you're grouping the columns and rows, it really becomes a matrix account, a matrix report. So you can see, and whether that makes any difference. You can see down the bottom here, all of the details. You can use this report up the top in a dashboard or something like that. We'll take away, so row counts. So on the right-hand side, you'll see it's simplified it, this summary report down now because it doesn't have the detail. It just has it as the totals. Oh, it's really a matrix report because of the group summary. So yeah, it's one of those things that you end up playing around with. You'll become comfortable really quickly. Probably what I need to, so this is for existing report types. The next thing that I wanted to show, and if I jump into setup.
Sorry, just quickly,
Yeah,
the grouping for matrix report generally works really well. Say if you had an opportunity and you wanted to group by close date, that would be a really good use of that.
if I go into report types. So I'll just quickly run through access policies, historical trending, reporting snapshots, and these settings. The admin exam won't cover any of these. That's more advanced reporting. So reporting snapshots, if you wanted to understand what your data looked like 12 months ago and you wanted to keep that snapshot and you wanted to refer back to it, you could do that. That's keeping it static. So if somebody changed a record from last month to this month because they after the reporting was actually done, that's a good use of snapshots. So if you're reporting to a board or in a corporate setting and data will move, use snapshots, access historical trending. Again, they go in, have a look around with it, play around, but it's not part of the exam. A report type, and I will just do the cheeky thing of opening up another window in the background. So like what we've had previously, they have pretty good instructions. So this is really about that Venn diagram of trying to find out how 3 objects relate to one another and what subset that you want. So you can, from this Venn diagram, you can select, at the moment, they're looking at the junction of those 3 objects, but you might choose all of A and the cross section of B and C. So if you think of it this way, these joined reports, I believe it's 4 layers, so that you can link 4 objects together, and you can create a custom report. Let me just show you, and I'm not sure. So new custom report type. Let's just pick let's pick a simple one. So I'm just gonna test badges. Put it in other reports. So this is where badges is the primary object, and I can relate it to one of the other ones that's linked. And I intentionally chose that as a simple example. So if I go to Schema Builder and I have a look at badges, let's come over here. Oh, there's all the way up there. It's got to be a better way of doing that. Oh, it's not even linked. I don't even need to do that. So what you can see is you've got a badge linked to badge received. So if over here we click badge received, we can say each A record must have at least 1 B record. So you're looking at the junction in the middle, where if I click that, you can see what it's done to the Venn diagram. So you can do multiple layers. As I said, I think it's 4 layers. And you can choose based on that Venn diagram, the records that you would show. What you need to do though, is you start at because these records are all linked, you won't be able to go off and do something that isn't in the direct line. So one object needs to, and I, this is so much better when you can actually see my hand movements. Yeah, on the twit. So when you're looking at your schema, so if you come back and if we look at, so this is a simple one just to demonstrate that purpose of it's got a relationship. You would think that a badge is related to a person, but you can see down here, the owner name is a lookup. So going back to the previous session where we were talking about creating relationships, a lookup doesn't keep that master detail relationship, so you can't traverse up. So if we look at activity, I will hide these ones away. Oh, probably not a good one. If we look at accounts, where is it? There. And we know that an account relationship. Let's just move that up. Let's see what else we've got a relationship with. So they're all lookups, lookups, lookups. I don't want those. We will go down to, use the I'm not having much. Let's do that. And then what are we going to do? Let's have a look at yeah, so if I'm going to look at a price book or something like that, it's not going to link, is it? This is the beauty of trying to explain things in a demo. So you see how that opportunity doesn't link to anything. So it doesn't link to these. So that means that when we go to a report type, if we're looking at a new report type, continue, create a new custom type. If we're looking at, we'll go back to the account, where'd the opportunity go? Good times. This is the shittest recording in the world. So we go to something like, we'll go to the bottom object. So we'll go to opportunities. Put it in the opportunities folder or category. I just need to publish in there. So click to relate, and you can see that these are the other examples that I should have selected. So from an opportunity, what's the next link in the chain? If I go to orders, probably a good one. Then I can click another one. So I'll go order products, and then I can click another one and order fee. So if I look, if I jump back here, and I will clear all opportunity. Links to orders. So I will go orders, links to other order products. Oh, wrong one. Order products. And then order product feed. Where's that one? I don't know. Anyway,
I think that's the channel feed on the order product.
Yeah. So you can see that there is a relationship between those, and you can change that filter, but you can also see that there's no option once you've actually chosen your primary objects. You can't go into those other sections. So if I wanted to see all of D and filter by those other ones, D needs to be the first object that I select, the primary object. So when you set up your report types, it's really important to know the data structure and go from that, and it's usually the lowest level in what you would think is the data hierarchy, so that you can then filter from that. So when you got the master child relationship, you would go from the child up. That's the way that I think about it anyway. Okay, so that's report types. You can then use those report types when you're creating a report. We will save and run this one, and I'll just create another one Now you can see where if you were to create reports, click a new report. I will go into, where did I put those ones? What was it? Admin. Other reports. I can't remember where I put the, I mustn't have saved it. It didn't save the record type. So this is really where what we just showed you about those Venn diagrams about where the data is selected, and that's effectively your query. You can't have those complex queries about going in multiple directions. You need to set up your data structure when you are building out the org to know what your reports are. And so sometimes you need to put a field on an object for reporting. So you might have a lookup field or something like that on that object to help with reporting. So that's record types. That's all of the different things that I think that we'd cover under reports. The only thing that I would highlight is up here, adding a chart. So you can add a chart and you can play around with that however you would like. So those settings up, chart properties, you can do the wonderful donut. Everybody loves those ones, or a funnel, you know, those, and you can modify those values to, so show values on the side and percentages. But again, you've only got a certain amount of, this is not a reporting platform. There's those canned numbers. So if we just click that, you can see if you wanted to duplicate, that's where you subscribe. So if you wanted to get this report sent to you on a Monday morning at 7 o'clock, so you know exactly what to do, you could run it as another person. So you could run it for, you could have I only want to see what is affecting me, or I want my manager's list, or if I've got permissions and things like that. Send the email to somebody else, attach files. It's all self-explanatory. So add to campaign, add to dashboard. This is I haven't actually used the add to campaign for the test report. The export, so this has changed a bit since I did the exam. What happens? So actually, it was the subscribe. You could subscribe now to a dashboard, and you will get images. But this is just the stock standard export. Let me add this to a dashboard. So I'll just select a. Hopefully there's something interesting here. So I'm going to add this component. Let's just make it just a straight number. So what we'll do is that we know that it's 242. So we'll go to 50. That one. Let's just change numbers. So I'll add that and put that in the side. What you can see is that a dashboard has, from memory, it's 12 columns, and you can modify this to fit in however many reports, and that's what they are. Each of these numbers represents a snapshot from a report. So if I go into this report, you can see that I can change that, provide more detail. So you could have a list, or you could have a tabular report in here. And so you can modify this component however you want. Let's just edit that again. You've got your normal column and rows. So stacked bar chart. There's your donut. The metric. I think that from memory, I think that there was you needed to understand this. I remember there was a couple of questions, or there was a question that might be related to when to use a funnel chart as opposed to a gauge chart or something like that. Have a play around with those. Understand the terms. When you're in an exam situation, it will trigger, and you'll probably know the answer of in which way you should display the component. It'd be straight away. You can see here that there's just a whole heap of settings that you can play around with. I will just turn that back to something like that. And yeah, you can add your filters, your components, or you can, again, dashboards you can view as another person. So if you're looking at an organization, you're looking at teams, you might be in a call center looking at different teams, how they're performing against another team or something like that. Fancy color schemes. So yeah, okay, dashboard size. So you do have the standard 12. I didn't realize that you've got 9 as well. I haven't done that for, yeah, I don't think I've ever chosen a 9 column one.
It's a recent addition, though.
Say again, mate?
It's a recent addition.
Oh, okay. I just thought you were calling me old or something. So yeah, so what, Keith, what else? So we've gone through, and it's been a pretty quick one. We've gone through the reports, report types, tabular reports, summary reports, matrix reports. We've gone through the record types, so joined reports, summary formulas we haven't, so we should probably go back and have a look at that. Dashboards, dashboard components, component types, subscribing and running as a user. Is there anything else, Keith? Is there anything that you picked up from your exam that we should focus on?
There's just some like smaller detail things similar, like that you can't create a report chart if you only have a tabular report, but you can create a report chart with a summary or a matrix or a joined report. Well, when you're kind of making a dashboard component, yeah, you can make that with a tabular. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, you can make dashboard components from a tabular report, but it can only be this component that Kel's just made, which is just a just like another report in your dashboard. You can use this that lightning table component as a summary as well, but you can't do matrix reports that way. It's one big annoyance when you're making dashboards is you can't do matrix reports in a dashboard or joined for that matter as well. So yeah, just some of those more details.
Yeah, I when I did the exam, I don't think that there was a lot that that was covered in that area. So yeah, so we might, you know, so this could be you could have a filter of created by. I think actually a better one would be something like create a date. So when you're looking at the last month or something like that, so you can see yesterday or last week, you can do a dashboard for last week to see what your performance was or something like that. What I will do is summary formulas. So if I go into that test report, so if I edit, so there's a cute little button there that swaps the rows and the columns, which means that it's a whole lot easier if you get it around the wrong way. There is the option to, so over here in columns, there are these four. So remove all columns, just does exactly what it says. Row level formula, summary formula, bucket column. So at a row level formula, if you've got a, where did we, so we had an example where if I actually, I'll just take the group away. So if I'm looking at, I'm just thinking of a good example. So
If you wanted to switch over to an opportunity report, there's lots of good examples for the summary and the row formula.
okay, let's go and do that. So opportunities. Do you want just you talk me through it, Kiva? Which one do you want, mate? So just opportunities.
Yeah, just opportunities is okay. You should note that with this report type, you can also add columns in from an account, like the account name, because you're looking up the relationship. But say if you had an account and contacts report type, you wouldn't be able to look down and draw any information from your opportunities.
Yeah. All right. So when we go into add a bucket column, you can see that the summary formula isn't available anymore because we're not grouping. So bucket name, Bucky,
Do stage.
stage. Oh, that's yeah, nice. So where did the values go? So I've got to do that, don't I? All right. So how do you? Yeah, that's how you do it. So I was just a bit rusty. So you can see, and actually I probably should have that closed lost as, I'll move that to unbucketed, and then I can apply that. That's not what I was hoping for. What did I do wrong? All right, so that's, you can see what I was trying to do with the buckets, which is if you have a description, you can put them into like a start, medium, middle, end. You can have whatever buckets you want, and you can use the values to put them into that kind of assortment. The colors are a new addition, which I wasn't, yeah, another fancy thing. and again, if I look at the row level formula, and again, I might, I'm really gonna struggle here. So, but what you can do is you can use if you're going to look at something like a total, where you have a couple of different values and or it might be dollar amounts in a row, and you want to create a formula just on that row. So it might be the total value of a customer. So you might have total assets, total debts or something like that. You could do a formula to say one minus the other, and that would be their net position. You got your fields, you got your functions, you can see all of those. It might be something along the lines of when was their last transaction, so the max duration on the transaction. I'm a bit rusty on this section myself. So if I just create, do that, just wait for a moment, and you can see now that because I've added the group by, you can add that summary formula. So that summary formula, and we'll just go into that quickly. Come on, you can do it, internet, you can. Anyway, let's just assume that it's all wonderful and rosy. That's where you can have your columns of your sum, your count, your min, your max, and those kinds of things. Let's just jump back. I think if we're jumping back, and I'll put this back on the screen, if we're looking at what would the topics for the exam really are, you can see how that you've got all the options. We've quickly run through all of the options regarding reports, report types, and dashboards. This is a small part. So the data analytics and management is, that whole section is 14, and I think this is probably about half. So of the 60 questions, you'll probably get 4 or 5 on this. When you've gone through and done it a couple of times, so that there are some links down here. There's a Trailhead project, a super badge, so that the super badge for reports and dashboards, it's not as tricky as a lot of other ones. It's handy, it's a lot of playing around, you'll end up getting it, and it's quite enjoyable for those super badges. David Carnes is an MVP, and his focus is on Salesforce reports and dashboards. So he has a dashboard dojo, which is his channel, and I'll just jump into that. He's going to be speaking at Quokka Dreaming. He will do a lot of these online events where you can jump on, and he explains the weird and wonderful things of reporting. So he's quite a specialist in it. It can be pretty powerful, but like Excel and other things, once you can go to layers and layers. The other one was Tableau CRM. So Tableau CRM is that next level of business intelligence tool. If you want to go into being able to look at, analyze your data really quickly and easily in a BI dashboard, Tableau CRM is probably the easiest, but a lot of people, especially locally, still use Power BI. There's small advantages over the two, but it really comes back to, if you're comfortable using a tool, then you're best off using that tool. That really hits almost a 7 o'clock deadline for dinner. Does anybody have any questions that they want answered on the recording? I know it's been a bit of a shock to the system with the internet dropping out and everything like that for me, so I feel a bit frazzled. Any questions, anything that I didn't cover? Cool, I'll stop the recording and then you can make fun of me. The recording.